Hey Grace, for anyone that might not know me, my name's Ted Taplett, and I have the pleasure of leading the young adult group at our church. It's great to be able to connect with you in this way and to share what God's put on my heart for a devotional today. It's been considering what to share. One thing that God has put on my heart has just been the difficult decision that the leaders of our country are having to make right now. And by some estimates, as many as 2 million Americans could die if the virus goes around unchecked in our country. There are measures that we could take to reduce the death toll, but the same measures that would reduce the death toll would have their own horrible consequences. One person suggested that as many as 50 million Americans could lose their jobs if the business closures and the school closures that are needed to keep Americans alive were to last too long or to disrupt the economy too much. It reminds me of a difficult decision that King David had to make back in 2 Samuel 24. God had come before David and said that judgment was coming on his nation, that a terrible calamity was going to come, but God hadn't yet decided specifically what that calamity was going to be. And he actually gave David the option to choose what consequence Israel was going to face. In 2 Samuel 24 verse 13, God says to David, he says, Shall there come upon you 3 years of famine in your land? Or 3 months of fleeing from your enemies while they pursue you? Or 3 days of plague in your land? Now then, think it over and decide. Can you imagine being David in that situation, leading his nation, wanting what's best for them, and being faced with 3 awful consequences? I think of David's story not because I think that our leaders have done something wrong to bring on the situation on themselves like David had, but I think of it because they also face a terrible choice. This choice between letting scores, countless numbers of people die on the one hand, or many millions more lose their jobs on the other. There's been, of course, a huge debate in our country as to which choice is the right one, which way we should go. As I've watched that debate and even participated in it myself, I have my own thoughts and my own feelings, but something that I've noticed is that in all the debate that goes on, it seems like there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of rancor that comes up between the two sides, and a lot of that gets focused and directed on our leaders themselves. Because the truth is that no matter what choice they make, there's going to be a lot of people who are hurting in a really big way. So as I think about our leaders and the choice that's in front of them, my request to you is really simple. Would you pray for them? Would you understand and have compassion for the position that they're in? Would you pray for the wisdom to know what decision is best? Would you pray for the courage to make decisions that are going to be unpopular? Whichever direction they go are going to be very unpopular with a lot of people. Would you pray for the peace that comes with knowing that you've made the decision you believe is right in the eyes of God, and it will help the most people? When David was faced with a terrible choice and he had to give God an answer, he said, Let us fall into the hand of the Lord, for his mercy is great. He chose the plague because he believed in God's mercy on his people. Would you pray with me for our leaders and for our country right now? Thanks, guys.